I've enjoyed doing Sunday school in a way because I enjoy the study part. It forces me to study. Unfortunately, it forces you. That's what's not good about it. But I've enjoyed it because you dig in, you think a little different all the whole month, and but that's something I want to look at a little bit today. I thought of. I'm going to look at. We're going to start in Exodus chapter 33. We've already went over this verse already, but we're going to go over it again. Exodus 33. We're just going to touch base with. We're going to look at Jonathan, the son of Nun, and in looking at his life a little bit here, and also think of when you do your day-to-day reading, what I found, I've read these stories I'm going to go over, and you miss a ton of stuff by just reading. You need to study. And this is coming from a guy that doesn't do enough at all, but this is kind of helping me to study. But just as simple as this, as Jonathan, the son of Nun, and looking at his life as we were looking at the temple. But starting in verse 11, I just want to read this verse real quick. And the Lord spake unto Moses. Give a history before we start. Israel's already made their, Moses went up in the mountain, they made the golden image, and God said, take me out of from among the people. So the tabernacle of the congregation is outside the camp. So Moses went to the tabernacle of the congregation, and here, and the Lord, in verse 11, and the Lord spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again into the camp. But his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, the young man, departed not out of the tabernacle. This verse right here kind of intrigued me. Like, why did Joshua not leave? And if you just go by what you've read right here, as far as the tabernacle being moved, and I've read all these stories, like I said, I didn't understand why. But if we start in Exodus chapter 17, this is actually the first time that Joshua is actually mentioned, is in Exodus chapter 17. And in verse 8, Exodus chapter 17 and verse 8, and the Amalekites, and then came Amalekite and fought with Israel at Rephidim. And Moses said unto Joshua, choose us out men, and go out and fight with the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the mount with the rod of God in my hand. And Joshua did as Moses said to him, and fought with the Amalekite. And Moses and Aaron and went up to the top of the hill. And it came to pass, when Moses held up his hands, that Israel prevailed, and when he let down his hands, the Amalekites prevailed. And Moses' hands were weary, and they took a stone and put under him, and he sat thereon. And Aaron and stayed up his hands, one on the one side and the other on the other side, and his hands were steady until going down of the sun. And Joshua discomforted Amalekite and his people with the edge of the sword. And the Lord said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book, and rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the rudiments of Amalekite from under heaven. And Moses built an altar and called the name of it Jehoravanish. For he said, because the Lord has sworn that the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Here's the first time Joshua is mentioned, and he was told, and Moses said unto Joshua, choose you out men and go and fight. This is the first time, so we really don't hear a lot about him from this. But God says, write this in a book as in a remember, and you'll be rehearsing this in Joshua's ears in the future. So keeping and reminding him of this victory and what God had did. And one thing, if I mess up and I say Josh, every once in a while I'm saying a different, instead of saying Joshua, I'll say something else. But sorry about that. But let's turn to Exodus 24. Exodus 24 is the next time. Exodus chapter 24. And this is one, when I say that you need to study things a little closer, this one is one that I have read many times. And when I was looking all these verses up where Joshua was mentioned, this one popped out and it was like, I didn't know this. And I've read this story. But we'll start in Exodus 24 and verse 12. And the Lord said unto Moses, come up to me into the mount and be there, and I will give thee tablets of stone and the law and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. And Moses rose up, and his minister Joshua, and Moses went up unto the mountain of God, and he said unto the elders, tarry here for us until we come again unto you. And behold, Aaron and Hur are with you. If any man have a matter to do, let them come unto them. And Moses went up unto the mount, and the cloud covered the mount, and the glory of the Lord abode upon the Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. And the seventh day he called Moses out of the midst of the cloud, and the sight of the glory of the Lord was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and gat him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights. I think some things that I always kind of missed is that Moses rose up, verse 13, here it says, Moses rose up and his minister Joshua, and they went up in the mountain. I mean, I don't know exactly, we'll read some more. I'm not sure where he was in all this, but he was with Moses. He was a minister unto him. I've always wondered about these 40 days and 40 nights. Did they eat? Did they sleep? But I tell you what, when you're with the Lord, you don't need that kind of stuff, but you still need your body, human, physical nourishment, but he was getting spiritual nourishment by being with God. And I think it's neat when he said, I'll give you tablets. God told him, I'll give you tablets of stone that all this is going to be written on, that he wrote on. So, and like I said, you miss things when you just do your day-to-day reading. But I caught that, Joshua went with Moses. So if you look on in Exodus chapter 32, because Moses is up getting the law in the chapters before, Exodus chapter 32, and read verse 1. And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves unto Aaron and said unto him, Up, make us gods which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt, we ought not what is become him. Well, they give up quick, didn't they? Here these people are saying, we're done. Where's Moses? And if you go over to verse 7 of the same chapter, and the Lord said unto Moses, Go thee down, for the people which thou broughtest out of the land of Egypt corrupt themselves. They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I commanded them. They have made them a molten calf, and have worshipped it, and have sacrificed thereunto, and said, This is thy God. These be the gods of, O Israel, which have brought thee up out of the land. And the Lord said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people. Now, therefore, let me alone, that my wrath may vex hot against them, and that I may consume them, and will make thee a great nation. This doesn't speak about Joshua right here, but it's kind of the history behind some things we're looking at here, or going to be some history. So God's mad. He's seen that they've made this golden calf, and he is mad. And if you read on further down in the rest, Moses is talking to God, says, No, you don't want to do that. Because if you do that, Egypt's going to find out about it, and they're going to say that you just brought them out here to kill them. I think it's kind of neat how Moses is defending the people of Israel. But then when you go, we go to go to verse 15, and Moses turned and went down from the mount, and the 2 tablets of the testimony were in his hands, and the tablets were written on both sides. On the one side and on the other side were they written, and the tablets were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God graven on the tablets. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moses, There is a noise of war in the camp. And he said, Is it not the voice? And he said, It is not the voice of them that shout for misery, neither is it the voice of them that cry for being overcome, but the noise of them that sing do I hear. And and it came to pass as soon as they came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger vexed hot, and he cast down the tablets out of his hands and brake them beneath the mount. This is where Joshua is mentioned here, and he said, and Moses has just turned around, and he's going down the mount, and Joshua hears. So it's like Joshua did not hear what God was saying, had told to Moses that, hey, these people have corrupted themselves, because he thought they were down there having a war. So I'm not sure where Joshua was in this, but he was with Moses. But I think it's kind of funny when you look at verse 18, that Moses has just got through talking to God and defending the people of Israel, and he was told exactly what Israel was doing. But yet right here, when he saw, it is not, no. Okay, verse 19, and it came to pass as soon as he came nigh unto the camp. and he saw the calf and the dancing that Moses angered hot. And he cast down the tablets out of his hands and broke them beneath the mount. There's a difference between the anger of God and the anger of man. Moses, the worst thing he could do was break what was in his hands. And he had just talked to God and stopped him from destroying Israel in a heartbeat. And I think that's what's cool, because Moses, if he could have had a quarter of what God would have power, Israel would have been gone. I mean, it was in the difference that he had just talked to God, don't do it, but yet he's mad. So, I thought that was neat. But then you figure where Joshua's been in this time, he's been with Moses. He's been with God. He's seen what's going on with Israel, what they're doing. And also, he's been close to the Lord. And these are things that if you don't study a little heavier, and I'm trying to push that because there's things I've never seen before. And there's stories that I thought I knew, which I think is kind of good. And, and Moses had even told him, hey, get you down. So, and then if you continue reading here, in this chapter, in chapter 33, you'll find that this is when God told Moses, take me out, take my tabernacle of congregation out. I don't want to be in the midst of these people. And he took them out, and that's where then our first scripture we read, he's outside the camp. And we'll read again verse number 11, and remember where Joshua's been and what he's been going through for the last 40 days and 40 nights. And Moses spake unto, and the Lord spake unto Moses face to face, as a man speaketh unto his friend. And he turned again unto the camp, but his servant Joshua, the son of Nun, the young man, departed not out of the temple. Now that makes more sense. It makes a lot more meaning that Joshua had seen these people. He didn't want to be a part of those people. But he had been with God, or been in different place for the last 40 days and 40 nights. His mind was different. His thinking was different. So he wanted to stay with God and what was going to be with God. So I think that's why he was there. And also, this is the first time that Joshua was called the son of Nun. Everywhere else, in the first part of this, he was just called Joshua. And I think that's neat, because now he's giving his heritage on where he came from. His dad was mentioned, his family was mentioned. And then the next time he is mentioned is we'll go to Numbers 11. Numbers chapter 11. Yeah, Numbers chapter 11 and verse 11. Let's see. 11:11. Numbers 11:11. And Moses said unto the Lord, wherefore hast thou... Okay, I'm going to give you some history before I start reading. They've been eating manna all this time, and they've been given the law and all the commandments and all here, and they've been eating manna. They have to go out every day and pick up this manna, and they get twice as much on Friday than they would on that, because it's not coming on Saturday. So the people wanted meat, and the people had started complaining. We want meat. We want, they were remembering what they had in Egypt. They remembered they had onions and leeks and meat and all this stuff, garlic and different foods that they had. But they remembered the food, but they didn't remember the work. So we got to watch that ourselves. And they've had it with Moses. They're going to stone Moses. Or they're aggravated at Moses at this point in time, murmuring against him again. And Moses is here. This is Moses praying to the Lord. And Moses said in verse 11, and Moses said unto the Lord, wherefore hast thou afflicted thy servant, and wherefore have I not found favor in thy sight, that thou layest this burden of all this people upon me? Have I conceived all this people? Have I begotten them, that thou shouldest say unto me, carry them in thy bosom, as a nursing father beareth the suckling child, unto the land which thou swarest unto our fathers? Whence shall I have flesh to give unto all the people? For they weep upon me, saying, give us flesh that we may eat. I am not able to bear all the people alone, because it is too heavy for me. And if thou deal with me, kill me, I pray thee, out of the hand, for I have found favor in thy sight, and let me not see my whatever. Moses has basically prayed, I've had enough. You've given me a burden for these people as a father would have for his own children. And I'm tired. They want more than I can give them. And let's see, lose my place. So, and what happens here, God tells him, Moses, you choose out, you take 70 men and set them around the tabernacle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them part of you, part of your burden, as it were. And Numbers 11, verse 24 here is when they do this. And Moses went out and told the people the words of the Lord, and gathered the servants, men of the elders of the people, and set them round about the tabernacle. And the Lord came down in a cloud, and spake unto them, and took of the Spirit that was upon him, and gave it unto the 70 elders. And it came to pass that as the Spirit rested upon them, they prophesied and did not cease. But there remained 2 of the men in the camp. The name of the one was Eldad, and the name of the other was Mindad, and the Spirit rested upon them. There ran a young man and told Moses and said, Eldad and Imdad did prophesy in the camp. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of Moses, one of his young men, answered and said, My Lord Moses, forbid them. And Moses said unto him, Envious thou for my sake? Would God that all the Lord's people were prophets, and that the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. Here, this is Joshua mentioned again, because now Moses has got these men that are going to help him. But these 2 men, they're not at the tabernacle, they're in the camp, and they're starting to basically preach. And when Joshua hears this, he's like, Moses, you want me to go tell them to stop? Do they need to stop? And I think it's really neat that Moses here's like, oh no, don't be envious that there's more people out here preaching and prophesying and trying to do God's will and take care of these people. He said, I pray that the Lord would make more of them and put the Spirit into all God's people. And the Lord would put his Spirit upon them. So I think it's kind of neat, here Joshua here is also concerned about Moses. because he is a minister unto him. So, he was just envious of his master. So then we go to Numbers chapter 14. This is right after Moses has sent the 12 men into the Canaan, the promised land, to spy out the land, to bring back a report on what it looks like and what's going on there. And they did that, and that the 10 men come back with bad report, and 2 men come back with good report. And we'll start here in verse 10, Numbers chapter 14 and verse 1. And all the congregation lifted up their voice and cried, and the people wept that night. And all the children of Israel murmured against Moses and against Aaron, and the whole congregation said unto them, Would God that we had died in the land of Egypt, or would God we had died in the wilderness? And wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword, that our wives and our children should be prey, where it is not better for us to return to Egypt. And they said one to another, Let us make a captain, and let us return to Egypt. And Moses and Aaron fell on their face before the assembly and of the congregation of the children of Israel. And Joshua the son of Nun and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, which were them which searched the land, rent their clothes, and they spake to all the company of the children of Israel, saying, The land which we passed through to search it is an exceedingly good land. If the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us unto this land, and give it us a land which floweth with milk and honey. Only rebel not ye against the Lord, neither fear ye the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Fear them not. But all the congregation bid stone them with stones, and the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before the children of Israel. I think it's kind of neat here. They're complaining. The people are complaining, and Joshua and Caleb both stand up and said, No, you're not hearing this right. God said, we got this. And we're going to go in and we're going to take this without a problem. And, they're actually standing pretty strong. And yet, and they're telling, don't rebel against God. God told us to go, and that's what we need to do. And you get to thinking about where Joshua's been. Joshua stayed close to the Lord in all the past. Up to this point, we've read where he's been. He's been with Moses. He's seen what's going on. And I really think that Caleb was right there with him. I think he was one of the ministers. I don't know that for a fact, but he's been close to the Lord. He's in, I believe there was some that actually followed God, but yet still rebelled when it came to this. And man, time flies. But it's really, that's why I was, one of the things is I was getting into Joshua. The things that I was learning, that I had read, and I've read, and I've read, I've heard preached. But when you study yourself, I think that's the key point. I mean, I'm studying because I have a class to do, but I need to study because I just need to study. And that's one of the things in bringing out some of these points about Joshua. Why did he stay in the temple? Well, to me, that was revealed because I went back and seen where he had came from. And you see how come he became the leader and God chose him to lead the Israel and to go into the land of Canaan, and he was one of the key judges in ruling over Israel for a while. But this has been really neat for me, and I plan to continue with Joshua and on and the different things that he did. I know it was brought out in a devotion before he went into Jericho, that the Lord came down with a sword to be with him. And if Joshua had not been in the right place, he wouldn't have seen that was God that came to fight for Israel. Not to fight with them, but he came to fight for Israel. So hopefully this has been a blessing to you. It has for me, to show me that these aren't just, there's a whole lot to these stories. There's a whole lot in there, in the whole Bible, that we need to get deeper into it. We need to study things out more personally and make our own personal study. And I've found that that's what I need more of. So pray for me that I will. And I'll pray and we'll be dismissed. Dear Heavenly Father,